The first time I heard Ruby mention changing the will, I was standing behind a flower arrangement at my father's funeral. My hands were trembling, still raw from the thorns I'd stripped that morning. The roses were his favorite. I'd spent hours selecting each stem. My name is Violet, and 6 months ago, I emptied my savings account of $287,432 to pay for my father's experimental cancer treatment. The doctors had given him weeks. I gave him months. "I'm so grateful, sweetheart," he'd said from his hospital bed, squeezing my hand. "Once I'm better, we'll make this right." I believed him. I believed everything. "Did you get the paperwork filed?" Ruby whispered to my stepbrother Judah near the guest book. I shouldn't have been able to hear them, but grief has a way of sharpening your senses. "Yesterday morning," Judah replied. "Just in time. Just in time." The words echoed in my head as I watched them share a look I couldn't quite read. Ruby smoothed her black designer dress, the one she'd bought the day after Dad's heart attack, and turned to accept condolences from another guest. "Your father was so lucky to have such a devoted wife," the mourner said. I nearly laughed. Where was that devotion during the midnight hospital runs? During the weeks of chemo when he couldn't keep food down? During the experimental treatment that drained my account but gave him back his smile? "Violet?" My half-sister Kylie touched my arm. "They're ready to begin the service." I nodded, following her to the front row. Ruby sat perfectly poised, dabbing at dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Judah slouched beside her, checking his phone. The minister spoke about dedication and sacrifice. I thought about the research position I'd turned down, the apartment deposit I'd forfeit, the life I'd put on hold. Dad had promised it would be worth it. "He was so proud of you," Julian, my ex and the family's attorney, whispered as he passed me a tissue. "He told me that every time I saw him." "When was the last time you saw him?" I asked. Julian hesitated. 3 days before. He wanted to discuss some changes." "Shh," Ruby cut in from my other side. "Show some respect." After the service, I found myself alone in the funeral home's bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. The door creaked open. "We should talk about the house," Ruby said, reapplying her lipstick in the mirror. "I know you've been staying there to help out, but now that your father's gone—" "I thought we'd discuss everything after the will reading," I said. "Oh, honey." Ruby's reflection smiled at me. "I just don't want you getting your hopes up. Your father understood family obligations, real family." The water dripped from my chin. I paid for his treatment. Out of love, I'm sure. Not expectation. She dropped the lipstick into her designer bag. "We'll make sure you're taken care of course, in our own way." I gripped the sink's edge. "What did you mean earlier? About filing paperwork just in time?" Ruby's smile didn't waver. "Grief makes us hear strange things, doesn't it? Get some rest, Violet. You look exhausted." She left me standing there, my knuckles white against the porcelain. Through the wall, I could hear Judah laughing about something with his friends. That night, I sat alone in Dad's study, surrounded by the familiar smell of his books and leather chair. The last time I'd seen him here, he'd been writing something, frustrated by how his hands shook. "Just some paperwork," he'd said when I asked. "Nothing for you to worry about, sweetheart." My phone buzzed, an email from an address I didn't recognize. "Check your father's safety deposit box at First National, box 221. He owed you more than he told them." I stared at the screen until it went dark, remembering Dad's words from the hospital. "Once I'm better, we'll make this right." The study felt colder suddenly. Outside, I heard a car door slam, Ruby and Judah returning from the post-funeral dinner I'd skipped. Their voices drifted up, laughing about something. I opened my laptop and began searching for the bank's hours. Tomorrow, I decided, I would find out exactly what my father owed me. And exactly what Ruby and Judah had filed just in time. The law office smelled like leather and expensive cologne. I sat straight-backed in the conference room, watching Ruby arrange herself at the head of the table like a queen at court. Judah sprawled in the chair beside her while Kylie perched nervously near the window. "Before we begin," Julian said, adjusting his tie, "I want to remind everyone that this is a formal reading. Please hold all questions until the end." Ruby nodded graciously. "Of course, dear. We're all family here." I caught Julian's eye. 10 years ago, we'd broken up because he chose his law career over our relationship. Now, watching him shuffle the papers with trembling hands, I wondered if he was remembering that too. "Last will and testament of Gregory Ellis," Julian began reading. "Being of sound mind?" I closed my eyes, remembering Dad's voice. "Once I'm better, we'll make this right." The experimental treatment had cost everything I had, but it had given him 6 more months. 6 months of clear scans, family dinners, and promises. "To my beloved wife, Ruby," Julian continued, "I leave our family home at 1542 Maple Street, along with all its contents and furnishings." Ruby dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. I dug my nails into my palms. "To my stepson, Judah, I leave my investment portfolio, valued at approximately $450,000, as well as my collection of vintage watches." Judah smirked, already pulling out his phone to check stock prices. "To my daughter Kylie, I leave a trust fund of $100,000 to be accessed upon her 25th birthday." Kylie's sharp intake of breath broke the silence. She looked at me, then quickly away. I waited for my name, the medical bills I'd paid, the promises he'd made. "The remainder of my estate, including all bank accounts, securities, and personal effects, I leave to my wife, Ruby, to distribute as she sees fit." The room spun. "That's it?" Julian wouldn't meet my eyes. "That concludes the formal reading." "There must be some mistake." My voice sounded distant, even to myself. "Dad promised—" "Promises aren't legally binding, dear," Ruby interrupted softly. "But don't worry. As I said at the funeral, we'll make sure you're taken care of." "How generous," I said. "Considering I spent nearly $300,000 on his treatment while you were redecorating the living room." Judah laughed. "Nobody asked you to do that." "Your father was very clear about his wishes," Ruby said, standing to gather her designer purse. "I'm sure he had his reasons." "Julian," I turned to him, "when did Dad last update this will?" He cleared his throat. 3 days before his death. The paperwork filed just in time." "I'll need copies of everything," I said. "Of course." Julian's hands were steady now as he gathered the documents. "I'll have them sent to your—" "She can pick them up later," Ruby cut in. "Now, about moving your things out of the house." "I'll need some time." "Of course, dear. Take until the weekend." Ruby's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Judah's friends are helping him move in on Monday." I stood up so quickly my chair scraped against the floor. "Julian, I'd like to speak with you privately." "Actually," he said, "I have another appointment." "It's fine." I grabbed my bag. "I'll be in touch." I made it to the elevator before my hands started shaking. As the doors closed, I heard Ruby's voice. "Well, that went better than expected." In my car, I pulled out my phone and opened the mysterious email about Dad's safety deposit box. The bank was only 10 minutes away. My phone buzzed with a text from Kylie. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know." Then another from Julian. "There's more to this. Call me." And finally, one from Ruby. "Dinner tonight? We should discuss arrangements." I deleted Ruby's message and started the car. Whatever was in that safety deposit box, it had better be worth more than empty promises and hollow condolences. The bank's parking lot was nearly empty when I pulled in. Through the glass doors, I could see an older woman in a sharp suit watching me. She looked familiar, Regina, Dad's accountant for the past decade. She nodded slightly as I walked in, then turned back to her paperwork. But not before I saw her slip something into her pocket, something that looked exactly like a safety deposit box key. I approached the teller, my heart pounding. "I'm here about box 221. Behind me, I heard the click of Regina's heels heading toward the exit. As she passed, she whispered, "Your father kept better records than they knew." The safety deposit box key felt heavy in my palm. Regina had slipped it to me in the bank parking lot, along with a business card bearing her private number. "Your father was meticulous about his records," she'd said, "especially after the cancer diagnosis." Inside the small viewing room, my hands trembled as I inserted the key. The metal box scraped against the table as I pulled it out. Inside, beneath a stack of old photographs, I found what Regina must have wanted me to see: a notarized document dated 3 months ago, just after Dad's successful treatment. "I, Gregory Ellis, hereby acknowledge," my breath caught as I read further, "that the sum of $287,432 provided by my daughter Violet constitutes a loan, not a gift, to be repaid in full upon my recovery or from my estate." The paper shook in my hands. His signature was clear and strong, written during his good days when the treatment was working. My phone buzzed. Ruby again. "The real estate agent is coming tomorrow. Please have your things packed by then." I ignored it and dialed Regina's number. "I was wondering how long it would take you to call," she answered. "Meet me at Carlo's Coffee in 20 minutes. Regina was already seated at a corner table when I arrived, a stack of folders beside her cappuccino. "Show me," she said. I slid the document across the table. She studied it, nodding slowly. "Do you know what this means?" she asked. "That he meant to pay me back? It means you're now a creditor of your father's estate." Regina's eyes gleamed. "And creditors get paid before beneficiaries." "I don't understand." "Ruby and Judah can't touch a penny until this debt is settled." She pulled out a calculator. "With standard interest, we're looking at nearly $300,000. My coffee went cold as Regina explained the legal implications. The house, the investments, everything would be frozen until my claim was resolved. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. Regina's face hardened. "I watched Ruby manipulate your father for years. Last month she had me fired and replaced with her own accountant, but I kept copies of everything." She opened one of her folders. "Like this email from Ruby to her lawyer, dated 2 weeks before your father's death. We need to move quickly on the will changes. His daughter's getting suspicious." My phone buzzed again. Judah this time. "Mom says you're not answering about the house. Don't make this difficult." "They're already trying to sell the house," I said. "Of course they are." Regina smiled grimly. "But they can't. Not legally. Not anymore." "What do I do next?" "Play nice. Let them think you've accepted everything. Meanwhile," she pulled out a business card. "This is Michael, my attorney. He specializes in estate disputes." I left Carlos with a plan forming. Back in my car, I finally replied to Ruby's messages. "So sorry. Been busy packing. Would love to discuss arrangements over dinner." At home. No, not my home anymore. I found Judah in the driveway, talking to someone on his phone while leaning against a brand new BMW. "Yeah, picking up my new ride," he was saying. "Dad's inheritance came through clutch." I walked past him, my father's signed confession burning a hole in my bag. Upstairs, I began carefully packing, not my belongings, but evidence. Every medical bill, every bank statement, every email where Ruby had made excuses for missing Dad's treatments. My phone lit up with Ruby's response. "Wonderful. LeBlanc at 7? We're so glad you're being reasonable about all this." I typed back, "Of course. We're family, after all." Through my window, I watched Judah revving his new car's engine. He'd bought it with money that was technically frozen by my father's debt. money he legally couldn't touch. I smiled, thinking of Regina's words. Creditors get paid before beneficiaries. Another text came through, this time from Julian. Ruby's lawyer just called. They're listing the house tomorrow. Please tell me you have a plan. I looked at the notarized paper in my hands, then at Judah's new car, then at the growing file of evidence on my bed. Don't worry, I wrote back. Everything's going exactly according to plan. In the driveway, Judah gunned his engine one more time before speeding away. He had no idea he'd just bought a car with money he'd soon have to pay back, with interest. I picked up my phone and dialed Michael's number. It was time to show Ruby and Judah exactly what kind of family they were dealing with. This is a nuclear option, Julian said, staring at the notarized document on his desk. Once you file this claim, there's no going back. I leaned forward in his office chair. Good. Ruby will fight it, hard. He ran a hand through his hair. She's already hired Patterson and Myers. The Shark Tank lawyers? They specialize in dismantling estate claims. Julian pulled up something on his computer. But they don't know about this yet. I watched him scan the document again. Outside his office, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the floor. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. About the will changes? I tried. He met my eyes. That day I saw your father, he wanted to discuss revisions. But Ruby was always there, hovering, controlling his medications, his appointments, everything. My phone buzzed, Ruby's daily check-in. The movers are confirmed for Saturday. You're being so mature about this, dear. She thinks I'm broken, I said. Playing dead. Julian's face softened. Are you recording these messages? Everything. I pulled out my phone, showing him the documented trail. Every condescending text, every fake sympathy call. Smart, he started typing. We'll need it all. Ruby's going to claim you're trying to extort the estate. I have more. I opened my laptop, pulling up a video from Dad's treatment days. Ruby appeared on screen, arguing with a nurse. I don't care if he's due for medication, she was saying. We have a charity gala tonight. He needs to be presentable. Julian watched, his jaw tightening. When was this? 2 weeks before he changed the will. I closed the laptop. I have dozens more like it. Keep those safe. He started drafting something. We'll file the creditor claim tomorrow morning. It'll freeze everything. The house sale, Judah's new car payments, Ruby's accounts. My phone buzzed again. Kylie this time. Mom's on the warpath. She knows you met with Julian. They're watching me, I said. Let them. Julian handed me a draft of the claim. Just keep playing nice until this hits. I scanned the document, my eyes catching on the total, 287,430 taus plus standard interest and legal fees. Your father said something else that day, Julian said quietly. When Ruby stepped out for a moment, he said he was afraid he'd made a terrible mistake. What mistake? He didn't elaborate. Ruby came back in and Julian gestured vaguely, shut down. My phone recorded another message from Ruby. Darling, let's have lunch tomorrow, just us girls. We have so much to discuss. Except, Julian said, keep her thinking she's in control. I typed back, love to? Noon at Cafe Margot? Perfect timing, Julian said. The claim will hit the court by 11:45. As I stood to leave, Julian caught my arm. Violet, wait. He pulled out an old photo from his desk. Us, from law school days, before career ambitions pulled us apart. I'm sorry I wasn't there when... Don't, I stepped back. This isn't about us. It's about justice. Right, he cleared his throat. Of course. Outside, the evening had turned cool. I walked to my car, remembering Dad's words from the hospital. Once I'm better, we'll make this right. My phone lit up with Ruby's response. Cafe Margot sounds lovely. I'm so glad we can be civilized about all this. I started my car, smiling as I thought about tomorrow's lunch, about Ruby's face when she gets the court notice, about Judah's reaction when his new BMW gets repossessed. Another text from Kylie. Mom just called her lawyer again. She was screaming about ungrateful little girls and teaching lessons. What did you do? Nothing yet, I wrote back, but tomorrow's going to be interesting. I drove past the house, my father's house, one last time. Ruby had already put up a for sale sign. Through the window, I could see her hosting some kind of dinner party, laughing with her society friends like she hadn't just stolen my inheritance. Enjoy it while you can, I whispered, thinking of the legal bombshell waiting to drop tomorrow. My phone buzzed one final time. Julian, everything's ready. Are you sure about this? I thought about Ruby's smirk at the will reading, about Judah's new car, about Dad's signature on that notarized confession. Absolutely, I typed back. Time to show them what real family loyalty looks like. Cafe Margot's patio buzzed with lunch crowds as I approached Ruby's table. She sat with perfect posture, designer sunglasses hiding her eyes, a half-empty mimosa in front of her. Judah slouched beside her, scrolling through his phone. I hope you don't mind, Ruby said, air-kissing my cheek. Judah wanted to join our little chat. The more the merrier. I set my bag down, checking my watch. 11:43. I ordered you a salad, Ruby said. You always stress eat when you're upset and well, she gestured at my waist. How thoughtful. I pulled out an envelope and placed it on the table. Judah finally looked up. What's that? A gift for both of you. Ruby's perfectly manicured fingers reached for the envelope. Darling, you didn't have to. Open it. She slid her finger under the flap, pulled out. Nothing. I don't understand, she said, turning the empty envelope over. That's the exact value of what you're about to inherit. I checked my watch again. 11:47. Ruby's smile tightened. If this is about the will, did you know, I interrupted, that creditors have to be paid before beneficiaries? Judah snorted. What creditors? My phone buzzed. Julian's message. It's filed. Me, I said, for 287,132 plus interest, the exact amount I paid for Dad's treatment. Ruby's hand shook as she reached for her mimosa. Don't be ridiculous. The estate is frozen, I continued. The house sale, Judah's new car, your accounts, everything stops until my claim is settled. You can't do that, Judah snarled. I already have. I pulled out copies of the notarized document. Dad made sure of that. Ruby's face went pale as she read. This isn't possible. Regina sends her regards, by the way. You shouldn't have fired her. She kept excellent records. Judah stood up so fast his chair toppled. You little... Sit down, Ruby hissed, grabbing his arm. Other diners were starting to stare. My phone buzzed again. Kylie. Mom's lawyer just called her. What's happening? Ask her, I said, nodding at Ruby's ringing phone. Ruby answered, her hands trembling. What do you mean, frozen? She listened, her face growing darker. No, we already sold. But the house listing, the BMW payments. Judah's face went from red to white. The car payments? Everything stops, I repeated, until I'm paid back. Ruby ended her call, her composure cracking. You ungrateful little... Ungrateful? I leaned forward. I gave everything I had to save him. Where were you? Getting your nails done during his chemo? Planning galas during his recovery? I was his wife. You were his mistake. I stood up, dropping some cash for the untouched salad. And now you're going to pay for it. Judah lunged across the table, but Ruby held him back. Don't make a scene, she whispered. Too late. I nodded toward the neighboring tables where several phones were recording. But please, show everyone exactly who you are. Ruby's lawyer called again. She answered with shaking fingers, listening intently. He promised me everything, she whispered into the phone. He promised... Funny, I said, gathering my things. He promised me the same thing. Difference is, I got it in writing. Judah slumped in his chair, probably realizing he'd have to return his precious BMW. You're destroying this family. No, I replied. I'm just making sure everyone gets exactly what they deserve. As I turned to leave, Ruby grabbed my arm. Wait! Her voice cracked. We can figure something out. Name your price. I looked at her designer bag, her expensive jewelry, all bought with my father's money, at Judah's entitled sneer, now faltering with fear. My price? I pulled out one more document, a full accounting of every minute I spent caring for Dad while they lived their luxury lifestyle. It's all there in black and white. Every penny, every hour, every sacrifice. Please, Ruby whispered, we can talk about this. You're right, I said, checking my watch one final time. Let's talk. Tomorrow, at the house, bring your lawyer. I smiled. After all, we're family. I walked away, leaving them with their empty envelope and emptier promises. My phone buzzed with messages from Julian, Kylie, and Regina, but I ignored them all. Tomorrow would be soon enough to show Ruby and Judah exactly what they'd inherited. Nothing but consequences. The morning news headline hit like a bombshell. Daughter frozen out of will claims justice through courts. Someone had leaked the story, complete with photos of Dad's treatment days and Ruby's society parties. Your phone's been ringing nonstop, Julian said, pacing his office. 3 different media outlets want interviews. Let them wait. I watched Ruby's lawyer stride past Julian's office for the 4th time. How's the other side holding up? They're desperate. He lowered his voice. They've already tried claiming the document was signed under duress. My phone lit up with Kylie's message. Mom's having a meltdown. She's saying you manipulated Dad when he was sick. Speaking of manipulation, Julian pulled up an email. Regina found something interesting. Bank transfers from your father's account to Ruby's private one right after his medication times. What kind of transfers? Large ones. And the timing, he frowned. It's like she waited until the pain meds kicked in. A knock interrupted us. Ruby's lawyer, red-faced and sweating, barged in. We need to discuss your client's ridiculous claims, he demanded. Ridiculous? I stood up. Show him the transfers, Julian. The lawyer's face paled as he read. Behind him, I saw Ruby appearing in the doorway, her designer outfit slightly disheveled. Those transfers were gifts, she said quickly. Gregory wanted me to have security. While medicated? Julian asked. Interesting timing. Ruby's composure cracked. You're trying to ruin me after everything I did for your father. Everything you did? I pulled out my phone, playing the video from the hospital. Ruby's voice filled the room. Just give him enough pills to sign these papers. I don't care if he's confused. The lawyer closed his eyes. Mrs. Ellis, you never mentioned... It's not what it sounds like, Ruby protested. I have more, I said. Hours of recordings, emails, bank statements. Should we discuss the charity donations that went to your personal account? My phone buzzed again. Judah. They're repossessing my car. You'll pay for this. Your son's making threats. I showed them the message. Ruby's lawyer gathered his papers. Perhaps we should reconvene when everyone's calmer. No. Ruby grabbed his arm. Fix this. Now. There's nothing to fix, Julian said. The creditor claim is solid. The evidence of financial manipulation is mounting. And now we have documented threats. The press is having a field day, I added. How's your social circle handling it, Ruby? She sank into a chair, her perfect facade crumbling. What do you want? Everything you took. I laid out the full accounting. Plus interest. Plus damages. That's more than the estate is worth. Then I guess you'll have to dip into those private accounts you built up during Dad's illness. The lawyer cleared his throat. Perhaps we could discuss a settlement. No settlements, I cut in. I want it all. The house, the investments, every penny you siphoned away while I drained my savings for his treatment. Ruby's phone chimed. She checked it, her face going ashen. The country club. They've suspended my membership pending investigation. Your society friends don't like scandal, do they? You're destroying everything, she whispered. No, you did that. I stood up. When you decided my father's money was more important than his care. When you manipulated him into changing his will while he was medicated. When you taught Judah that threats are better than truth. Julian handed Ruby's lawyer another document. This is our full claim. You have 24 hours to respond. Before what? Ruby demanded. Before we add criminal charges to the civil ones. I gathered my things. Those medical manipulation videos are pretty damning. As I reached the door, Ruby called out, He never loved you like he loved me. I turned back. No, he loved your act, right up until the end, when he realized what you really were. I smiled. Check your voicemail from the day before he died, the one you kept secret. Her eyes widened. She fumbled for her phone, finally playing the message on speaker. Dad's voice, weak but clear, filled the room. Ruby, what did you make me sign? Violet deserves... I need to fix... Why are these pills making me so... The message cut off. Ruby's hands shook as she lowered the phone. 24 hours, I repeated, walking out. Behind me, I heard her lawyer say, We need to talk about damage control. But there would be no controlling this damage. The truth, like karma, was finally catching up to them all. The house felt different as I unlocked the door. Ruby had insisted on meeting here. A power play, probably, holding court in what she still considered her territory. But the emptiness echoed differently now. Even the afternoon light seemed clearer, as if the truth had cleaned the windows. They're here, Julian said from behind me. Through the front window, I watched Ruby's Mercedes pull up, followed by her lawyer's car. Ready? He asked. I nodded, touching the USB drive in my pocket. One final piece of evidence, saved for this moment. Ruby swept in like she still owned the place, but her designer outfit couldn't hide her exhaustion. Judah skulked behind her, his face dark with anger. Let's get this over with, Ruby said, settling into Dad's favorite armchair. First, I said, I want to show you something. I connected my laptop to the living room TV. Security footage from Dad's study the night before he died. Ruby's face went pale. There weren't any cameras. Dad installed them after his jewelry disappeared last year. I pressed play. Remember that theft you blamed on the housekeeper? The footage showed Ruby entering Dad's study late at night. She rummaged through his desk, pulling out papers. Dad appeared in the doorway, unsteady on his feet. What are you doing? His voice was slurred. Just organizing, darling. Those pills making you sleepy? The will. I need to fix... Shh, everything's fixed. Just sign here. Ruby lunged for the laptop, but Julian blocked her. Keep watching. On screen, Dad squinted at the papers. But Violet won't need anything once she's married to that doctor she's been seeing. I paused the video. Interesting story. especially since I wasn't dating anyone. "You're editing footage," Judah shouted. "The timestamps are authenticated," Julian said quietly. "As is the audio." Ruby's lawyer cleared his throat. "Mrs. Ellis, you assured me—" "It's not what it looks like," Ruby interrupted. "Really?" I played another clip. Ruby making calls while Dad slept. "Yes, transfer it all." "No, he won't remember. The medication makes him sign anything." The lawyer stood up. "I can no longer represent you in this matter." "Sit down," Ruby grabbed his arm. "You can't leave now." "Actually," Julian said, "your entire legal team resigned this morning." "Something about new evidence of criminal conduct?" Judah paced the room like a caged animal. "You set us up. You planned this whole thing." "No," I said. "You did this to yourselves. Every theft, every manipulation, every lie, it's all documented." "What do you want?" Ruby's voice cracked. "The truth. Start with what really happened that night." She stared at her manicured hands. "He was going to change everything back. Said he'd made a mistake trusting me. That you deserved." She looked up, hatred burning in her eyes. "You had no right to his money." "It wasn't about money." I played the final clip, Dad, alone in his study, recording a message on his phone. "Violet, if you find this—" "I'm so sorry. Ruby's been— the medications. I need to fix the will, but she's always watching. You gave everything to save me, and I let her. Please forgive." The message ended abruptly. In the silence that followed, Ruby's composure finally shattered. "He was mine!" she screamed, knocking over a lamp. "Everything was supposed to be mine. Security footage, bank records, medical manipulation." Julian laid out papers on the coffee table. "The DA's office is very interested." "You wouldn't," Ruby whispered. "Sign it all over," I said. "Every asset, every account. Do it now, and the criminal footage stays private." Her hand shook as she signed the papers. Judah stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. "Get out of my house," I said quietly. "Your house?" Ruby stood, straightening her jacket with trembling hands. "You think this makes you win? You think this makes you better?" "No," I replied. "It just makes things right." She raised her hand to slap me, but Julian caught her wrist. "Don't make things worse." As they left, I noticed something glinting under Dad's armchair. Reaching down, I pulled out a folded piece of paper wedged deep in the cushion. My heart stopped as I recognized Dad's handwriting. One final message, hidden where Ruby would never think to look. "What is it?" Julian asked. I unfolded the paper with shaking hands and began to read. "My dearest Violet," Dad's letter began. "If you're reading this, I've hidden it well enough that Ruby never found it. The medications make it hard to think clearly, but I need you to know the truth." Julian sat beside me on the floor as I read aloud. The setting sun cast long shadows through the study windows. Ruby controlled everything. My pills, my meetings, my papers. I signed things I didn't understand. But I remember the money you gave, the career you sacrificed. I remember every night you spent in that hospital chair while Ruby attended galas. My hands shook. There's more. I tried to fix it. Every time I was lucid, I'd attempt to change the will back. Ruby always stopped me, always had an excuse, always increased my medication. The night I finally understood what she was doing, my heart— I had to stop reading. Julian squeezed my shoulder. "Keep going," he whispered. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I left something for you that Ruby doesn't know about. Behind the loose brick in the garden wall, the one where you used to hide your childhood treasures, you'll find a key to my private safe deposit box at First National. Box 4042. Everything I managed to hide from Ruby is there. It's not enough, but it's something." The garden was dark when we reached the wall. The brick came loose easily, muscle memory from years ago guiding my hands. Behind it gleamed a small key. "Want me to come with you?" Julian asked. "No." I pocketed the key. "This part I need to do alone." The bank manager was leaving when I arrived, but she took one look at my face and let me in. Box 442 was larger than the first one and heavier. Inside, I found stacks of papers, investment documents, property deeds, offshore accounts. "Smart man, your father," Regina said from the doorway. I hadn't heard her arrive. He started hiding assets the day Ruby tried to increase his medication dosage. "How much?" She smiled. "Enough to start that research center you always dreamed about." My phone buzzed. Kylie. "Mom's gone, packed a bag and disappeared. Judah, too." "Let them run," Regina said, reading over my shoulder. "The money trail will follow them anywhere." Another text arrived from an unknown number. "You think you've won? Watch your back. R." I deleted it without responding. Let her threats echo in the void. I had work to do. The next morning, I sat in Dad's study, my study now, sorting through his hidden legacy. Julian arrived with coffee and news. "Ruby's accounts are frozen," he said. "All of them, even the secret ones in the Caymans." "And Judah?" "His new BMW got repossessed while he was still in it. There's video." I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. "What will you do with it all?" Julian asked, gesturing at the papers. I handed him a document I'd drafted overnight. He read it, his eyes widening. "The Gregory Ellis Foundation for Medical Research and Patient Support. Dad's money should help other families," I said. "Other daughters who'd sacrifice everything for their parents. And the house." I looked around the study, at the shelves of medical books I'd studied while caring for Dad, at the chair where he'd sat trying to write that final message. "It's going to be the Foundation's headquarters," I said. "Every room that witnessed Ruby's manipulation will help someone in need." Julian set down the papers. "Your father would be proud." "I know." I touched the letter in my pocket. "He told me so." My phone lit up with another message from Ruby's burner number. "You'll regret this." I smiled, thinking of all the families the Foundation would help, all the good that would grow from Ruby's poison. "No," I typed back. "I won't." Then I blocked the number and turned to Julian. "Ready to start making things right?" He nodded, and together we began transforming my father's last gift into something bigger than Ruby's greed, bigger than revenge, bigger than loss. Sometimes karma needs a little help. Sometimes justice wears a daughter's face. And sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning, it's turning victory into something that helps heal the world.